What's good everyone, it's Smudger here. Let's talk about Platinum LMGs. In order to unlock them, once you have every LMG gold, you unlock this challenge, which is 25 long shots with the LMGs. Pretty easy. They're LMGs, they're made to be at distance. There were a few tweaks made here and there. You either split your attachments into recoil control or bullet velocity and damage, just based on the LMG, but we'll dive into that now as I show you the class setups that I used. For the MG38, it's a pretty good all-round LMG. You could easily get this done with no attachments if you were so inclined. But I used this silencer. I know that suppressors and ghost and whatnot is all bugged and weird at the moment. I used it mainly for the bullet velocity over everything else. The optic is personal preference. I always use the 4 times. People are either going to use it or not. There's so many optics out there that I'm sure everyone has a preference. The rear grip, I switched between recoil control and flinch resistance. There's no real reason. I think it was all in my head. And I always use a high velocity when it comes to long shots, just for that extra bullet velocity when you are firing. It's a pretty good gun, nothing to worry about. The HCR is not my favourite of the LMGs, it definitely feels a little bit slower than some of the others. The barrel situation isn't great. You can use this one if you're really struggling with recoil control, which removes the muzzle, and I think I chose to keep the extra damage and bullet velocity on from the muzzle rather than use this. Whatever optic you want, it's always the 4 times with me. The recoil control, you don't flinch too bad, it just feels very bouncy when you shoot it. High velocity ammo, and I think I actually used an underbarrel for this for a bit more recoil stabilization. I can't remember which one, I think it was this one. It's just not my favourite LMG, there's nothing wrong with it per se, it just feels like it fires a little bit too slow, moves a little bit too much. I'm just generally not a fan. It wasn't difficult to get done, it just wasn't really my cup of tea. And next up we have the Icarus, which is arguably the worst LMG in the game. Kind of feels like it's shooting marshmallows, which means you have to prioritise bullet velocity and damage over pretty much everything. It doesn't really move when it shoots, which is a benefit. You don't need to focus too much on recoil, but it definitely doesn't hit as hard as some of the others, and I was getting a lot more hit markers with this the moment you kind of went past the 40 meter mark. It was just a bit of a pain, definitely took the longest to do. It's just one of the weaker guns that you're going to get in every category. At least it's not as bad as the M16. Now the RAL is one where you're going to prioritise your recoil control over bullet velocity every day of the week, because this thing hits like a truck. It is incredibly powerful. There's very little to do to it in terms of bullet velocity. I did still use the high velocity ammo. I want to say I used that barrel as well. Looking back, that probably wasn't my wisest choice, but it's what I used and it got the job done. Honestly, mount up with this gun, you'll be so much happier with your life decisions. It's just incredibly bouncy, but it only takes 2 or 3 shots to actually kill an enemy. The RPK is up next. As always, we're looking for bullet velocity over anything else. This is another gun that doesn't really move, which I'm not complaining about. And then a sight of your choice. For me, that's the 4 times. Pretty standard gun, doesn't move so much, definitely on the weaker side. Not as bad as the Icarus, but doesn't hit as hard as some of the others, that's for sure. It's just a pretty mid gun. And finally we have the RAP H, which I still think will be one of the most popular guns in Warzone 2. I think it has a really good chance of being meta. And for this, you couldn't really complain. There was nothing to complain about. It's a gun that shoots. It shoots well. You really just cannot have too many complaints. Pretty standard setup. Those are the class setups that I use. By no means are they going to be the world's best. It's what I use. It's what I worked. I'm happy with them. That's why I use them. By all means, play around with it. You can tune it to your heart's content. I think I might have tuned the Icarus quite a bit to try and get as much power behind it as I could. But let's talk about the maps themselves. There's a few fantastic ones that I'll always hunt out over others, and there's a few that I just back out instantly, even if there's long lines of sight. Fortress is a really great map. quite a few lines of sight, quite a few nice places to pop up a deployable cover as well and be a bit of a rat, which is essentially what getting long shots is. Similarly with Hotel, you can mount up on it's like a water feature by A flag in Domination and just look into the main room. People walk out of the arches directly opposite all the time. They walk out of the room to the right all the time. It's great in Hardpoint. The spawns move so often that people will funnel towards the mid-map pretty consistently, and it's a really easy way to pick up long shots. I know a lot of people vouch for Raceway. I never had much joy in it. People never seem to push the lines of sight that I wanted. I just kind of leave it be. El Asilo, who knows? I really like this map. I play probably some of the worst Call of Duty you will ever watch, hence why there's no footage. The trees up by A flag to the left of A flag in Domination are fantastic because even if you don't want to bring a deployable cover, you can mount on the trees and you get lines of sight over multiple hard points. If you're in hard point, you get lines of sight on the outside of the big building where people are trying to push into B flag. If you're in Domination, you can see A flag in Domination. You can see people coming out of spawn from C flag. And the hard points rotate around that area in such a way that you almost always have a line of sight on either a hard point or a spawn point, which is all you really need. And you are so far back in the corner that you're almost guaranteed a long shot with every kill. Embassy's great, I think most people know this. That middle lane is golden for long shots, but so are the outside lanes as well. You can pick up some really nice long shots down the side. You can spawn trap a little in hardpoint if you are detached enough from your team, but it's 3 lanes with lots of lines of sight. I think most people are aware of that. Farm 18's a bit hit or miss. You can get a really good lobby where you're just picking up loads of long shots from the destroyed building at the back of the map that people like to sit in. It's kind of too hit and miss for me and I tend to just back out. I think everyone knows that Mercado Las Almas is the top tier currently for long shots. Sit at either end of that central lane and you're pretty much golden. We don't talk about this map. Tarak is pretty good. And by pretty good, I don't mean it's a good map, I mean it's good for long shots. Lots and lots of open space. So much space for people to cover that you should have plenty of time to shoot them. No matter where you sit, the chances are you're going to be in a long shot line of sight. I prefer to be on the side of A flag in Domination and just hold up there and catch anyone running through mid-map, anyone spawning off to the sides of the map. You're pretty much unlimited. Zarqua Hydroelectric, again, bit hit and miss. Where this map is actually showing up here, you can sit right on the edge of this and look towards that building with the window and kind of like the little roof off to one side. And if people are far enough back from the window, it'll count as a long shot if you're kind of crouched right on the edge of this ledge. Alternatively, the building that's kind of in the background, you can sit there and shoot into the building directly across and it'll count as a long shot, but the moment they kind of step out of that building, it won't. It's a bit trickier, it's a smaller map, the lines of sight aren't as good, but it's doable. My top 3 are definitely Fortress, Hotel and Las Almas Mercado, or Mercado Las Almas. The others are, hit and miss. I can't vouch for them as much as I wish I could. If you see this, please just back out, don't waste your time with it. I think most people know that. But regardless, those are the Platinum LMGs done and dusted. We're moving on to SMGs next. I'm just going to keep it rolling, one step closer to the mastery cameras. As always, any questions, any concerns, anything at all, drop a comment. I'll do my best to get back to you. Hope you have a good day and I'll see you next time. Bye.